Hi, everyone that's tuning in.
Hello.
Hi, Rosanna. How are
Hi.
you today?
Oh, I'm good. Sorry, I'm a little backlit. Let me kind of move this over a little bit. How are
I'm
you?
great. I'm really excited to be speaking with you today.
Great. I am too. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me get this like a little bit clearer. Okay, there we go.
Great. Lighting is great.
I've got the lights like back here.
So, for everyone that's joining us, we're speaking with Rosana Eckert. She is a jazz musician and a lecturer at UNT in the jazz division. We're speaking with her for a little series we're doing for Hispanic Heritage Month. So, just to start off, if you would like to introduce yourself and tell everyone more about you, Rosanna, that would be awesome.
Sure. Yeah, so my name is Rosana Eckert. My maiden name was Calderon, so a lot of people don't know I'm Hispanic, but I am. And I teach vocal jazz and songwriting at the University of North Texas. And I am a freelance vocalist and voiceover actor, and I do a lot of choral writing also, and ensemble conducting and clinicking and things like that. So lots of studio and live work as a singer. So yeah, I dabble in a lot of different things, but here in Denton, I teach in the jazz department at UNT.
Awesome. So, just to start off with, tell us like what does Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you and what importance does it have to you?
Gosh, I take a lot of pride in my Hispanic heritage. I have mostly Mexican roots, although my mom's grandfather was from Santander, Spain, so there's that Spanish European side also. But I grew up in El Paso, Texas, which is, gosh, it's got to be what, 75% Hispanic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was raised around a lot of beautiful Mexican culture and Spanish language and Mexican food and the beautiful, warm personalities that come with Hispanic people. Um, Growing up in a city that is almost 1 million people, it's weird how it just feels like such a small town. And it's because I think of the type of, everyone takes care of you culture that is in the Hispanic culture. And it takes a village, that whole thing. I mean, I was raised by a village of people, and I'm very close with second, third, fourth cousins,
Mm-hmm.
once removed, all of that. That's also a really big part, I think, at least of my Hispanic experience, and culture. So I love everything about that culture, and I work on speaking Spanish every day, and I danced folklorico,
Oh,
folk
awesome.
music. I mean, all the things. I really had a lot of that culture growing up, and I still try and hold on to it as much as I can.
Cool. So, how does music factor into that? I know you mentioned dance and, family events and being close to family, but was there a lot of music growing up in El Paso for you?
Oh, absolutely. That's another big part of I think the Mexican and like Hispanic culture is that everybody just sings. It's just part of the culture. And so everyone sang. There were always at every family gathering, we even had like a family song on my mom's side of the family. There's a family song. So at every wedding, the entire huge ballroom gets together and the mariachis will play that song and everyone will sing at the top of their lungs. And so, yeah, everyone sang. And I even had some professional musicians in the family, but even if they weren't professional, like just everyone did. My mom took piano lessons. My dad taught himself guitar. It was just sort of part of the culture growing up. So it was always around for sure. And harmony too,
Mm-hmm.
not just the melody. Everybody sang harmony. And that was great. It was really important. Hmm.
Do you think the music kind of attributed to that like closeness, the close knit feeling?
Oh, I definitely think so. I mean, there is something about singing the same song that you love with a room full of people and everyone knows the words and everyone's singing at the top of their lungs and seeing, being a kid, seeing grown-ups do that so freely.
Mm-hmm.
And, because I think it's a vulnerable thing to kind of sing in front of people. And
It
for
is.
them, just to see one after another, adults everywhere willing to just sing freely, I think that had a huge impact on me and on the philosophy that everyone should sing. Singing feels good. And so the fact that now I am a voice teacher and I encourage groups of people, you know, to sing. And I have, there are a lot of people that I teach that are adult learners that maybe have never sung before.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going, you know what? I want to sing. And I'm like, you should sing. It feels amazing. You know, it's
Yeah.
great. So yeah, it had a huge impact on my life, such that I even devoted my whole career to it. So yeah, for sure.
You brought up an interesting point about like adult singers and learning how to sing. Do you think that learning a new skill like that brings about a sense of like newfound confidence for people?
I do. I think that singing, especially singing with other people, it gives you a sense of belonging and
Mm-hmm.
community. I was just talking about that with different groups of people where there are singers. I mean, I did a thing this summer in Germany, which was like a sort of like a retreat for a grown-up people singing in a choir, like 70 people coming together to sing in a choir for a week.
Oh wow.
And it was their gift to themselves. Yeah, it's just very normal in Europe for there to be multiple community choirs in one city. And I think that there's really something to that, to singing your whole life and to feeling like you're part of something. And you don't have to be, oh, I'm super trained or I am devoting myself in this career.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that, you know, it's kind of like being in a bowling league. You know, it's just like I'm part of a team. We're doing something I love. And I think singing is something that everyone can
Yeah.
do. So I love it. I think it's a beautiful thing, and I think it does good things for the inside of your heart and soul.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, how do you feel like, or if at all, that your Mexican heritage influences your personal singing, your music, and even your teaching? And like, how does it affect your students, do you think?
Well, I think definitely the feeling that singing is something everyone can do, is welcome to do, and how much joy it brings. That definitely is a core part of my teaching philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
that this is for everyone. Um, and then I think also, you know, when you're raised in a city that has a lot of like Mexican music, there's a lot of rhythm in Mexican music,
Yeah.
and you know, just generally Hispanic music. And you know, watching when we went to Spain to try and find our, you know, our people in Santander, Spain, we went and saw like flamenco dancers and all of that sort of thing. I love rhythm. I love writing rhythmic things. I love
Mm-hmm.
singing rhythmic things. I've kind of gotten into singing Brazilian music, and I think I'm so
Oh,
attracted to that rhythm. And I took an Afro-Cuban percussion class, and I love that rhythm. And so I do think that I gravitate toward rhythmic music, and I do think that that Hispanic music, that Mexican music that I listened to, and Spanish music early on, sort of planted the seed of that love for rhythm. And I teach with a lot of rhythm also. So I think that, and I think, I don't know, I think just again, the culture that I grew up with was just so
mm-hmm.
nurturing and
Mm-hmm.
so loving that I hope that I am carrying that same feeling, you know, and way of connecting with people, an inclusive way of the it takes a village. You know, I hope I'm bringing that to my
Yeah,
teaching and my daily life.
definitely. Um, so tell me more about like how you came to love jazz music. Like, what's your story of how you fell in love with jazz?
Right. Well, I joined band when I was in sixth grade. I
Mm-hmm.
played the French horn in El Paso. And a lot of there were some teachers who were band directors, but they also played jazz in El Paso. So I got like a little taste of it just seeing them there playing it. But I mean, I was a very serious French horn player, and I came to UNT to study French horn. It was the largest horn studio in the country, and it was right here in Texas. And I thought, yeah, this seems like a great place to be. And I liked the horn teacher, Dr. Scharnberg, a lot. So when I was here, I always loved marching band. I was into it, even though I wasn't required to take it. I loved marching, and I marched drum and bugle corps, and I was always super into that. So again, the community aspect of all of
Yeah.
those things. But in marching band, I met a lot of music ed majors who were in the jazz department. And so, yeah, that got me going to all the jazz concerts. And I would go and see the 1 o'clock, the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, all the bands. And I would watch my friends. And then we would go to every concert that was there, you know, and we went and heard the UNT jazz singers. And I thought, oh, oh my gosh, you know, I had sung harmony with my parents my whole life just for fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, I want to sing that. That harmony is different. And I love that harmony. And anytime there had been like some kind of tight harmony on the radio, like groups like El DeBarge or even like some Janet Jackson stuff, there were some tight
Oh.
vocals, you know, and Michael Jackson stuff. I was always gravitated to really tight vocals.
Mm-hmm.
And even looking back on it, my favorite drum and bugle corps was not actually the one I marched. I love the one I marched, Blue Knights, but I loved Blue Devils. Oh, I love that corps. And looking back on it, well, yeah, they played jazz is what they played. So it's like it's always with this, it was destined to be. Um, so one day they asked me, they said, you know what, we're doing some stuff in the Jazz Repertory Ensemble, which is a big band, and we need a French horn player because we're doing some stuff from Gil Evans and Stan Kenton, and that music calls for French horn, and we don't have a horn player. So I got to play in a big band, and it just kind of got me on the path. I just started meeting people, and I ended up auditioning for the jazz singers. And because I could sight read very well, even though I didn't know my instrument that well, I got in, and then that just changed my life. It changed my life, and I ended up getting a master's in jazz voice as a singer. So it was just like a, you know, and I still played horn. It's weird. That whole master's degree was on an orchestra scholarship on French horn.
Really?
So I was
Okay.
playing in the orchestra and singing to the jazz singers and going, who am I? What am I doing with my life? You know, kind of changed course a little bit there. But yeah, for a while I did both. And I'm trying to get some trumpet chops now back to see if I can play on my gigs. But yeah, that was kind of the way and then when I graduated, I was the first person to graduate with a master's in jazz voice specifically,
Mm-hmm.
and our undergrad degree was kind of getting off the ground, and they didn't have a private teacher in jazz voice. So that's why they said, hey, you're done with your master's. Do you want to stay and become the private teacher in jazz voice? And I thought, oh, that'd be awesome. Yes, please. So I've been here ever since, and that was in the fall of '99. Woohoo! So I've been here a long time.
So, being in Denton for so long, what do you think about like the overall music culture, specifically Hispanic music culture in town?
Oh, I feel like definitely if I want to go hear music influenced by Hispanic culture, I think I have a lot of opportunities here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of my favorite memories is being at the Denton Arts and Jazz Festival with my daughter, and she's there playing with her dolls, and we're watching the UNT mariachi group, and they're just killing it. They're just
Mm-hmm.
so good, you know. So I see that, and then I'll go to the stage over here, and there's ballet folklorico, you know, to
Yep.
Mexican music. And I'm like, yes, I used to do that with the big, huge skirts, you know, and the kind of fancy footwork and stuff. And so I do. I mean, I hear singers singing boleros, and I hear it everywhere. It's just it's everywhere because I think there are a lot of Hispanic people that live in Texas, and they bring all of that beautiful culture with them. And so, yeah, I think it's never too far away if I want to experience some of that culture.
Awesome. Are you looking forward to Arts and Jazz this year?
I am looking forward to Arts and Jazz. I love
Me
going. You know,
too.
we go and we park it. You know, we park it. I'm performing 3 times, so
Oh.
I can't park it, too much. I have to go and sing a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be really fun. All the different stages and hearing all the
Mm-hmm.
music, all my students, you know, singing. It's going to be great.
Yeah. And then just to wrap up here, what's something that you think people have a misconception of with like jazz music as far as like people who can be involved in jazz and like other cultures being involved in jazz music that people might think?
Yeah, I think sometimes when people think of jazz, they think of one thing, and they
Mm,
think of like a saxophone playing really, really loud and like really
yeah.
fast, you know, and then and they think, oh, that's not for me, you know, that's not for everybody, right? That's for some people, but that's not for everybody. But I mean, jazz is this enormous umbrella. It's enormous, and it's influenced by so many different types of music and types of cultures. And so I would just say, like, keep searching. I
Mm,
mean, there are beautiful, there's soft West Coast, gentle, you know, ballad-like jazz, and there's vocal jazz, and there are group, you know, old time jazz, traditional jazz, and there's um, funky jazz and soul jazz and R&B jazz and even Western Western swing. It's like a little bit of country jazz with some violins improvising. I mean, jazz is a spirit.
Ah.
Jazz is it's more than just like, I don't know, one type of thing. It's a
Mm-hmm.
spirit. It's improvisation. It's camaraderie. It's broad. So I would say keep an open mind and find what you love in under that umbrella.
Is that something you try and really push to your students, keeping that open mind when it comes to music in general? And
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we want everyone to fill their ears with all kinds of music, especially, some of the artists that are, some of the students here who are trying to, find like, what's my artistic voice? Like, how do I find my voice? And it's like, well, it's just sort of like you're talking in your personality. It's going to be the combination of all of your influences in your life. So
yeah,
your musical influences, those are all the ingredients that are going in your pantry. And then how you choose to cook is you. That's going to be that. But you can only cook with what's in your pantry. So,
I like that
fill the
analogy.
pantry, fill it. Let's just fill it up and then see what comes out. What comes out will be stuff you like the taste of. So that's good.
That's excellent. I love that. Okay, well, that's all the questions I've got for you today. Thank you so much for joining us for this chat. This was really fun to get to know you a bit and hear your perspective on things.
Thanks for
Um,
having me. It's a pleasure.
for everyone watching, this is the first of 3 live chats we're going to do for Hispanic Heritage Month. So stay tuned for more information on our next guest for next Friday. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
See ya.